Hi there, in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to create a twist knit detail on garment. So first of all I'm going to show you how to pick up your stitches that we're going to hook up onto the machine. Use the two-sided transfer tool and you pick up 2 stitches between each knit stitch. So I am going to use these 2 stitches to hook onto my machine. I have selected 20 needles that I'm going to hook back onto the machine. So I am working centrally on my fabric, so I'm trying to pick up stitches, 10 stitches from the edge. Try to be neat when you're picking up the stitches, trying to pick up 1 stitch at a time. Remember to pick up your stitches in a straight line, so if you need to you can mark the knitting with chalk, just something that will wash off, and just mark a straight line before you start. Okay, so we need to make sure our needles are fully pushed out, and then I'm going to go over once with my knitting carriage with a brighter colour. I'm going to use a burnt orange colour. Okay, so as you can see all our stitches have knitted. Now I'm going to transfer every other stitch onto the next needle. So I'm going to transfer the second needle to the left onto the first needle, the fourth stitch onto the third, and then the 6th stitch onto the 5th. And this, when we carry on knitting, it will create a ladder effect. So once you've transferred the stitch across, the needle that is left empty needs to be pushed fully back, and this will stop it from knitting again. To add an extra stitch onto mine because it's not symmetrical, so I'm just going to do an E-wrap and then knit this stitch. It's pretty simple to correct mistakes on a knitting machine. You just do the E-wrap and then knit the stitch with your waste yarn, and then it's correct again. So I'm going to knit over my stitches about 20 times. This can vary, it depends how tight or loose you want your twist to be. As you can see, it's a really cute ladder effect, and you can play around with the tension and make it tight or loose. Mine is quite loose, it's on the tension 5. So when you have a certain amount of rows, we can start twisting. I am going to do one full turn and then work out how to place it onto the knitting again. So you try to accurately measure the distance that you need for it to look good on your knitting, because you don't want it to stretch, otherwise the fabric will just bunch up. And then we arc the fabric back onto the needles in exactly the same way as the beginning, but leaving a needle gap in between. So stitch, miss a stitch, and then arc a stitch. So you're just leaving a stitch gap in between. Try not to pick up too much of your knitting, otherwise it would look a little bit messy. So try to only pick up one stitch at a time. As you can see, I'm leaving nice gaps, keeping the fabric evenly spread. This is why you need to leave the stitch in between. And then once you've done that, we're going to knit 20 rows again. You can do more if you want to lose a twist. Hold your fabric down to weight it whilst you're going across, so your stitches don't come off, and just repeat the process again. So now we're going to repeat the process again. We're going to hook the stitches back onto the machine, leaving a stitch gap in between. Remember, we're using every other needle, so make sure you leave a gap to create the ladder. So now we've come to the end of our knitting, we're going to bind off. So you twist your yarn around the first needle, you pull the yarn through, and then you transfer the stitch onto the next needle. Okay, so each time we twist the yarn through the hook, we pull the hook all the way through the stitch, closing the latch, and then we push the needle back out fully so the stitch goes over the latch. And then we transfer the stitch onto the next needle. When you have done the first transfer, make sure you put that stitch or the fabric onto the closest needle so it doesn't mess up your tension or pull too tightly. As you can see, my first needle is holding the fabric. This is essential, otherwise you can sometimes just pull it too tight when you're binding off. Make sure you don't drop the stitch, otherwise it will come undone. So we're all done now. This is our twist. If you enjoyed watching, I will post a picture of this on my blog so you can see it more clearly. You can change the twist so you see less of the back. So just twist in a different direction. And you can think more about your placement and where you want the twist to be. Thank you for watching.